All right, so World War III, and it's much closer than you think. And why is that? Is it because of the bad Russians who are so aggressive and pro-war? I mean, it couldn't be the West, right? The West are, the good guys. So the good guys usually love peace, right? So let me ask you this: when was the last time you heard a Western leader talk about peace in Ukraine? Stop the war. Let's find an agreement. Let's settle this diplomatically. Let's stop this madness. Can you remember? Or is it that you hear every single day the Western leaders say, besides the US, of course, Russia must be defeated? So that doesn't really sound like an anti-war message to me, does it? War must go on. Russia must be defeated. So, am I the only one that sees something wrong with that? And that, I mean, it couldn't possibly be that the US are fueling this war to weaken Russia, right? But the US are the US. That's what they've been doing. They've been expanding NATO, and they've brought NATO now up to the borders of Russia. And they want us to believe that this is not an existential problem that Russia faces and does this war, but it's mad Putin that does it. It's They are aggressive. They want to take on the world. They want to go back to the glories of the USSR. No, it's not existential. It's not like NATO has been expanding to the east year after year after year, even after agreeing they wouldn't do so. So having NATO on their border is something that, of course, Russia must accept, right? Like the US accepted back in the 60s when JFK threatened USSR with nuclear war if they didn't remove their missiles from Cuba. Cuba being a sovereign country, of course, but who the fuck cares, right? They threatened the world with nuclear holocaust unless they removed their missiles from being close to their borders. But Russia must just take it, right? I mean, the US tried to force a regime change in Syria and they failed, obviously, right? The Russians intervened and they destroyed the insurgents, and that's that. So they failed. Otherwise, Syria would now be with a Western friendly president, that they would be pretty much getting ready to become a NATO country as well. But yeah, if you believe the US narrative, and I think that by now it's getting old, everything Russians say is a lie and everything is Russian propaganda. Whereas they are telling the truth. Like Joe Biden and John Kirby, they are telling the truth. They are the good guys. Um, and this is presenting a little bit of a problem here. What does Russia must be defeated exactly mean? Pushed back into their borders? Destroy their economy? Do you think Russia is going to accept getting destroyed? I don't think they are going to. I think they're going to even use nuclear weapons to protect themselves because they think they're right. It was pretty funny that John Kirby, what was it, yesterday or today, I'm not sure. He was asked if US was responsible for giving information to Ukraine for killing all their generals and singing their flagship Moscow, whatever it's called. And he said that, no, of course not. We don't do that because Ukrainians have their own intelligence. But 1 minute before, earlier, he has said that the US are giving all sorts of intelligence to Ukraine so they have a complete picture of the battlefield. I mean, do they have their own intelligence or don't they have their own intelligence? And everyone, of course, knows it's bullshit. I mean, everyone could tell by themselves that it's kind of strange that Ukrainians have the capacity to monitor the positions of Russian leaders and keep killing them, right? Kind of strange. So we know they are bullshitting us, but that's not the only thing they say. That's actually pretty bullshit to begin with. And my problem is not with the US, all right? The problem with the US is that it's led by a incompetent and dangerous leader, Joe Biden, because we know where he comes from. And I'm saddened to say that we also know that everything the woke crowd touches turns to shit, right? And if you don't understand that, I won't even bother to explain it because I'm not a Republican and I'm not a Democrat and I give a shit. But these woke guys are completely incompetent and they are going to lead us to World War III. My main problem is what the fuck is Germany and France doing? And why does no one see that when you're pushing Russia into a corner by sending NATO to their borders and they're trying to push NATO back by attacking Ukraine, it's not a good idea to pull Finland and Sweden into NATO. For fuck's sake. Like, really. You're compounding the problem. And you're acting like you are in danger from Russia. You cornered them. They didn't corner you, you moron. So Germany, the leader of Europe, together with France, their understanding of the situation is that Russia is expanding, and so they need to buy stealth fighters from the U.S. and become NATO countries everywhere, right? Pull Finland into NATO because they are in danger, right? No, you idiots, you are endangering us, yourselves, and I'm a Westerner, right? I live in Europe. With your stupidity. I knew the UK were, US butlers. Everybody knows that. I know it's insulting, and I love my British friends, and I absolutely share a lot of things with them, like humor, right? I love dry humor. But when it comes to politics, all they've ever been doing is promote US politics. Everybody knows that, right? But France and Germany, why? Why are they so pro war, destroy Russia? Germany, I mean, are the Germans feeling guilty for World War II and ever since they've been trying to love all the world and bring in all the refugees and try to make up for the destruction they caused the Nazis back in the war. And now we're getting fucked because of their good intentions, right, with all the refugees. But I digress. I'm really disappointed in Germany. Like, their understanding of the situation is this fuel the war with Russia? Is this their understanding of the situation? I saw a glimpse of hope today from France. Just a glimpse of hope that they might want to try and promote discussions with Putin. Germany and France should fucking go to Putin and turn their back a little bit to the US and work it out before it's too late. Before it's too late. And I won't be blaming Putin if it's too late. I mean, if I look at world leaders that are impressive and competent, Vladimir Putin comes to mind. And if I look like at spokesmen of countries that are impressive, Sergei Lavrov comes in mind. Certainly not John Kirby and certainly not Joe Biden, right? But Germany and France should work for Europe, not for the US. And this is really getting out of hand, and how can they not see it? What's behind this? Why is Germany and France so blind to all this? The US is using Ukraine to fight Russia, and Ukrainians are dying because of it. And Russians, of course, but who the fuck cares, right? And Zelensky, of course, dreams of being the hero that goes on in history as the one that led Ukraine to victory. So he's not going to cater for his people. he's not going to back down. But yeah, US is using Ukraine as an instrument of war. But why is Germany and France siding with them on it, destroying world peace instead of fighting for it and leading the world closer and closer to nuclear destruction? But I'm not so confident that Germany and France are going to pull their finger out their ass and do something about it. Come the 9th of May, I don't know what Putin is going to announce, but it could be like the shit has hit the fan. Like, get the fuck off, or there's gonna be nuclear war. And maybe that's the only language the West understands, no other. They've stolen 300 plus billions from Russia. They've sanctioned them. They want to continue stealing Russia's money by paying in US dollars, right? Getting their oil for free. They keep violating international law by trying to force Russia into bankruptcy when Russia can actually pay its debts, but they won't let it because they are not accepting the money. But US is the international law, right? And yet they keep blaming Russia for breaking international law when that's exactly what they are doing. So this isn't going well. This isn't going well. I can only hope that Russia makes some sort of breakthrough on the battlefield, but I don't see that happening because this is a prolonged war. Russians are going to grind down the Ukraine forces little by little. Stop, regroup, replenish, repeat. And so this is going to take quite some time. And by the way, this is the face of war you're seeing right here. People trying to kill each other. And the West won't stop documenting Russian war crimes in Ukraine, but they never care about Ukrainian war crimes against Russians. They never document those. They never speak about those before this war started. And they've been sabotaging peace talks as soon as they realize that, maybe Russia is not so well organized. Maybe this war will go on. Maybe we should help that. Yeah, sure. Why the fuck not? Well, the problem is that people are just too busy with their own lives right now. I don't think that everyone's a fucking retard in this world. That they don't follow, they don't try to understand, they just digest whatever the government is selling them, their own propaganda. But I still think that at least the leaders of many countries are looking way past what the average Westerner is looking at. And it's becoming quite clear. A friend of mine asked me the other day when he found out that I'm pro-Russian in this instance. I mean, why? How? The whole world is against Russians. And I kind of try to explain to him how, but what I fail to do is correct him. Um, Asia is more than half the world's population, right? And you also should know that China showed the US the middle finger, which is exactly what India did as well, because they are stationed in Asia, where the US is trying to set foot. So the US is not going to set foot in Asia. It's not going to happen. So Russia cannot be defeated. US cannot enter Asia. And when the shit hits the fan, you can bet your ass China is coming to the rescue of Russia, but it's not doing it now because it's not been asked to. Russians are trying to clean up themselves. So God bless, even though I don't believe in God, you know what I mean. This is a very, very dangerous time we're going through right now, and I have zero trust in the world leader Joe Biden that he can appreciate what's going on in the world right now. and what he's leading us to. But my disappointment is Germany. France less so, but France too. Europe should be looking at their own interests right now. Yeah, we should be allies with the US, but this is getting out of hand. US aggression and their expansion has reached a point where it can no longer go on, at least not where they're going to. They reach Russia's border, that's unacceptable. Either the West understand that, or we are all in the shit. Well, that's just me sharing my opinion. A Western citizen that doesn't quite side with the West. And you know what's funny? I fucking hate communism. From when I was a child, no one taught me to hate communism, but I remember that at school, throughout school, my grades were at about the top three in the whole of Athens of 4.5 million people. I even got medals for it. And we had communist teachers. They're everywhere, right? And they fucking hated me for it. They fucking hated me for standing out academically, so to speak. And they were looking at me like this, with the corner of their eye. And I'm not stupid. I could see it, and I knew why they didn't like me. So, communism was never to my taste. But there's a lot more to it than just political ideas here. And the Western self proclaimed righteousness is like so such hypocrisy. I really cannot digest no matter what. And so I'm really rooting for Russia to win this one and send the US back home like they did in Syria. And I'm quite confident it will happen because they're not alone in this. The whole of Asia is backing them. And believe it or not, I'm sure a lot more other countries, while they don't want to go against the US, they're certainly not gonna play their game. So peace, unless you live in the West, of course, in which case war must go on and Russia must be defeated. Oh, by the way, this was a sick video, man. These guys are not playing around. They're trying to kill each other. That's the face of war. But war is not bad only when it suits us and good when it suits us, right? War is always bad. So you should remember that next time the US try to expand into another country to save them from an evil regime and find those weapons of mass destruction.